you kind of asked, a priori, would a global pandemic where a lot of people are dying and catching this, is that an emergency that where you'd kind of consider it that it's problematic to basically yell fire in a crowded theater? I think that probably passes that test. So I think it's a very tricky situation, but I think the fundamental commitment to free expression is there, and that's what I believe. And again, I don't think you start this company unless you care about people being able to express themselves as much as possible. But I think that's the question, right? Is like, how do you define what the harm is and how acute that is?
And what are the institutions that define that harm? A lot of the criticism is that the CDC, the WHO, the institutions we've come to trust as a civilization to give the line of what is and isn't harm in terms of health policy have failed in many ways, in small ways and in big ways, depending on who you ask. And then the perspective of Meta and Facebook is like, well, where the hell do I get the information of what is and isn't misinformation? So it's a really difficult place to be in, but it's great to hear that you're leaning towards freedom of speech on this aspect. And again, I think this actually calls to the fact that we need to reform institutions that help keep an open mind of what is and isn't misinformation. And misinformation has been used to bully on the internet. I mean, I just have, I'm friends with Joe Rogan, and he's called as a, I remember hanging out with him in Vegas, and somebody yelled, "Stop spreading misinformation." I mean, and there's a lot of people that follow him that believe he's not spreading misinformation. Like, you can't just not acknowledge the fact that there's a large number of people that have a different definition of misinformation. That's such a tough place to be. Like, who do you listen to? Do you listen to quote-unquote experts? Who gets... As a person who has a PhD, I gotta say, I mean, I'm not sure I know what defines an expert. Especially in a totally new pandemic or a new catastrophic event, especially when politics is involved, and especially when the news are, the media involved that can propagate sort of outrageous narratives and everybody make a lot of money. Like, what the hell? Where's the source of truth? And then everybody turns to Facebook. It's like, please tell me what the source of truth is.
Well, how would you handle this if you were in my position?
It's very, 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 very difficult. I would say I would more speak about how difficult the choices are and be transparent about, like, what the hell do you do with this? Like, here, you got exactly, ask the exact question you just asked me, but to the broader public. Like, okay, yeah, you guys tell me what to do. So, like, crowdsource it. And then the other aspect is when you spoke really eloquently about the fact that there's this going back and forth, and now there's a feeling like you're censoring a little bit too much. So I would try to be ahead of that feeling. I would now lean towards freedom of speech and say, we're not the ones that are going to define misinformation. Let it be a public debate. Let the idea stand. And I actually place, this idea of misinformation, I place the responsibility on the poor communication skills of scientists. They should be in the battlefield of ideas, and everybody who is spreading information against the vaccine, they should not be censored. They should be talked with, and you should show the data. You should have open discussion.